to the change on the Class D, and here's where I'm coming from. When I first saw that change, it didn't strike me as anything, but I got a buddy who's more of a contester type, and he said, one of the reasons that rule was in place was that you had that rule prevented some of the big gun stations that are heavy into contesting from kind of overpowering everybody. And, just to give you an example, K3LR is in our backyard, literally.
Right.
So what would prevent Tim from getting a couple folks together there and running K3LR now as a home station?
There would really be nothing preventing it aside from the fact I don't think that Tim does field day. But aside from that, I mean, because you get the big guys like the K3LR and W3 LPL and those guys. I mean, they have big powerhouse stations, and that was one of the reasons why the Class D to D rule was, because we didn't want it to be like sweepstakes where you have all these guys at their homes, their linears and their big antenna arrays, doing what they do. So, I mean, there was a lot of the Programs and Services Committee had met a couple times, and a lot of the directors and the section managers were getting, a lot of people were requesting that change from very early on. And early on, myself and my immediate supervisors, I came to them very early on when we realized that coronavirus and COVID was going to be an issue. Said, can we do something to make any changes? And the take early on was, well, part of field day is it's supposed to be an emergency preparedness exercise. Here's your emergency. We gave you a situation that is not normal. How are you going to adapt? And if you looked at the earlier things we had published on the field day site, like I don't know if you could see my screen here, a time to adapt. That was kind of where that whole, or even to create, all these articles here were about, very early on, were about, okay, you can't do things like you normally do. Let's look at doing things a little bit differently. But the Programs and Services Committee finally relented to I guess, pressures, and decided to put these two rule waivers in effect. So hopefully it doesn't have it doesn't become just big gun stations going back and forth with each other. I mean, I hope not, because that would really, I mean, you do have some. I mean, think about the Class F EOC stations. I mean, we put W1AW on here as a Class F, running the normal W1AW equipment. We run it with an F with a generator, because we actually have W1AW has its own generator, a big one. We do that, and a lot of field day remote sites put on quite big stations. The Class A, some of these guys get put together some pretty intense looking stations that do pretty well. Yes.
Well, if I could make a comment, I was doing this a meeting a couple nights ago, and someone said, well, there's no reason to do Class E then. We shouldn't think about Class E. And I said, no, there still is incentive to do it. Just because you can work D to D stations, it's a good idea to still try to do E if you'd like to prove that you have the emergency power. So there's you guys are not discouraging people from operating Class E. I think people need to be aware of that.
Well, yeah, and there still are incentives point-wise for running emergency power. So there are some incentives to run emergency power, and even if you were to run it like entirely on battery or alternative power sources like solar. Now, granted, you're not going to be able to run a kilowatt amp on solar, but I'm more of a 100-watt contester myself. Like when I get on for contests on the HF, I'm 100 watts in a wire. That's pretty much, I don't have an amp. I like to see how well I can make 100 watts go, or even lower power. And I'm surprised sometimes, even when I'm working a pileup on, just a regular DX, how 100 watts sometimes can get through all these, big stations. And sometimes it's just propagation is your friend. But so anyway, any other questions regarding the rule waivers?
Paul, on the entry, and maybe you're going to be talking about this later, but on the entry form, the question I've gotten from a couple people, are you going to add another separate box for the affiliated club? Because it's a little confusing right now for people that are used to filling out the entry form. They're used to filling out this top club or group name with the organization's name as opposed to the affiliate. So I'm thinking that maybe you're going to add something down at the bottom where they put their name and email address in that says affiliated club.
Well, what the so for field day, you don't have to be an affiliated club to participate.
I'm sorry, the club that you want to affiliate your score with.
Okay, all right. So you're saying affiliated club. There's what's known as an ARRL affiliated club.
Yes.
And then if any of you guys have ever done contesting, there's also the contest clubs where the contest clubs have to put together an eligibility list of all their members in their territory. We're not doing any of that. This is very, because normally a club can only have people within a certain radius of around where they are that can participate. Where, we're not going to do any of that checking because, you can be a Class B station. Like say, Anthony, you and I were to do one together, we could be a Class B, Paul and Anthony's field day.
Yes.
And we could call it that. So how the form is going to work is, let's go over to the form since you mentioned it.
Yes.
And I thought I had that up here somewhere, but apparently I've lost where I had the link. My God, this computer's going so slow. Let's see here. I'll go here. There we go. All right. So now there's a different site when you go to submit your entry form, and that's now just to confuse you. There's this field day site, which was www.arl.org/field day, or arl.org. I don't know why the www disappeared, but I thought there was a www in front. There it goes. All right, so you got this site. That's this site here, www.arl.org.fieldday. But the entry form is on here, which is field-day.arrl.org. So it's all the any of the links that say the entry form and anything that we're sending out brings you to this page right here. Okay. And there's going to be some changes. This isn't unless it's been done, because I see it says revised June 10th. So I don't know if Bruce Horn is our programmer for the front end for our web pages.
Let me refresh mine to make sure mine's the newest one.
He and you can tell when the last update is because it says a revised date. I don't know what he's revised here yet. I don't think he's done this yet.
No, it looks the same.
The test would be this. Okay, no. All right. So what we're planning on doing is when you start typing in here, what's the name of your club?
Mahoning Valley Amateur Radio Association.
It's M-A what?
MVARA.
All right. So, but how do you? So we're encouraging people to spell the club's name out. So it's M-A something.
Mahoning.
Anyway, so how it's going to work is if you start typing your club name, I'll just use your club name. All right. Once you start typing here, see where I'm typing? I'm pointing. You guys can't see my finger.
Yes.
So anyway,
we see.
So what's going to happen is I forgot I did that. It will come up with a list of suggested club names. So what that's going to do is it's going to give you a suggestion based on what you typed to keep spelling and typographical errors kind of, to keep the spelling and the name, so not people using different acronyms, people using the same name, because
that's real good.
Because what we're going to do when we calculate out the scores, it's basically not a computer that's doing this. It's me looking at a spreadsheet of all the entries, and I got to compare and match all the club names with every club, and it's a manual process, so it's gonna be a nightmare. So we're trying to, we can't make it bulletproof, but we're trying to eliminate errors like that. I didn't know whether Bruce had made that active or not. We're just talking about that today, so I didn't think that was gonna be active yet. So I'm not sure exactly what change he had made yesterday. He might have made some changes as far maybe to Class D, because a lot of times, see if you notice when you're putting in an entry here, so you're going to put your call sign here, and chances are if you're operating from home, you're not going to have to go out and get on the air station, so you'll probably leave that blank. Your section, you guys are in Ohio?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, you said you were near K3LR, so I wasn't sure. I know he's in Western Pennsylvania.
Yeah, he's just on the other side of the border from us.
Yeah, I know. You see him right off of Route 80.
Yep.
I was actually hoping to get out there when I was heading out to Xenia, but my daughter goes to school in Pittsburgh, so I was planning on driving out to see her, and then stopping by and seeing Tim either on the way to or back from the. I'm just hoping to get a tour out there. Anyway, so you'll put your call sign in, your own call sign. Your section you will go here, and that's a drop-down box. And then if it's just you by yourself, you'll be a number participant. If it's you and somebody else in your household helping you, it doesn't matter whether they're a licensed ham or not. You just put the number of people that participated. And this is a question I get a lot. Number of transmitters in simultaneous operation, all right? And you guys have done a Class A before. I don't know, what do you guys usually run?
6A.
6.
Right. All right. So now the 6 would be the number of transmitters you brought. That's usually the number of the maximum number of transmitters that are on the air at one time at any point during the event. So in other words, if you happen to have at one point it's really busy, everyone's there Saturday afternoon. Once everything starts going and you got all these operators and all your transmitters are cranking away, you'll put the maximum number that are on the air at the same time. So if you happen to have 6 transmitters, you only use 3 at the same time. It's actually a 3A. So it's not the number of transmitters you have, it's the ones that are in the maximum number that's on the air at any time. Hi there.
Sorry.
Well, you might see a cat at some point too. That's
okay. They don't mind cats. They just they're upset because the club name was said wrong. We're not in Pennsylvania.
Well, no, I knew you guys are. So you guys, yeah. So you guys are in Ohio, so you would actually go down there and just select it from the. Anyway.
So, Paul, that's what I thought you guys would do. Would be something that would be sort of auto-correcting or something along those lines. So that's very good.
Right. So normally for contest entries, you have to be a contest club to do it. So the list is more finite. Like if you were to go at a look at a regular contest entry. And you don't know if I can bring that page up on the log submission page here. I don't even know if it's going to let me see the log. But if you look here, it says ARL affiliated contest club, and there it gives you the contest club names. So what we're going to do for starters is we're going to take the contest club names, because a lot of these guys do field day. We're going to pre-populate a list of that, and anybody who submitted an entry last year, we're basing that on a list, because what happened is before they're published in QST, we have to go through them and check them for spelling errors. So what we're going to do is we're actually building a database of the names to give you for the autocorrect, but it's not going to look like this. That's a normal contest entry, but you can see it's got all the it's got whoever's a contest club. But yeah, so normal. So it's going to be similar to that, but it's going to be based on what you type.
That's good.
Of course, now I navigated away from the site. I go back there. There we go.
Well, while you're navigating there, Paul, you mentioned Bruce Horn did that, did a lot of the stuff for you. We held a 2-meter contest, simplex contest here a couple weeks ago, and got a hold of Bruce, and man, was he great to us. He set up a web page for our folks to make their entries and get it into Cabrillo format and all that. What a wonderful!
Awesome! Yeah, he did his little yeah, that form he has to make like a manually, like you take a paper log and transcribe it into a Cabrillo file is awesome. So anyway, so. I don't know whether I really have to dig that deep into the entry form for field day here, and much further. But so it's pretty, it's kind of self-explanatory. So if you're going to be a Class D and you're on commercial power, and anytime you click one of these little things here, it will do that. No, it's not supposed to do that. It was supposed to give you. Anyway, when you click that, maybe it's because Bruce is working on it. It will give you it'll bring over to a highlight of the rules. to say, okay, I'm Class D, home station power. What does that mean? You'll click on that, and it'll bring you over to the rules. I don't know what it could be because I'm screen sharing. Maybe that's why it's doing it. So typically, you'll probably be either a D or an E. Again, you can be mobile. I mean, you can any class can work. If you wanted to be I don't know if you guys are going to plan on being Class B. Class B is basically like a smaller Class A station with only 1 or 2 people. That's somewhere that is a non-regular station location. In other words, not setting up in your, on your back deck. You're going to a local park and setting up an antenna or a farmer's field down the street or something like that. So it's, portable, which also means that you're not on commercial power. So that's what a Class B is. So Class B is very similar to your Class A group, except it's 1 or 2 people as opposed to an A. And then Class F is probably going to be irrelevant for this. All right. So, and then the rest of this is pretty self-explanatory. You're going to have your power source. So if you're on generator, commercial means your whatever your maximum power level is here. And then whatever bonus points certain classes can get certain bonus points and certain ones can't. And then all we're really looking for as far as what your QSOs are is you want here in a band QSO breakdown, you basically take your, how many CW QSOs did I make on 160? What was the maximum power on those? How many digital QSOs, which any digital mode, and how many phone QSOs? You do that for all the bands. And this is the part here I want to discuss. We don't need log files. Okay, if your logging software generates, like there's a lot of logging software like N1SFE's field day logger and N1MM's field day logger, they do what we call active dupe checking. So in other words, you can't work the same station on the same band and mode more than once. So in other words, I can work each station once on each, it's once per band per mode. So in other words, it can work them on digital, you can work them on phone, you can work them on CW. You can work one station on, on the same band basically 3 times. Once on CW, once in a digital mode, and once on phone. So what we're looking for is that some effort is made that we don't have duplicate calls on the same banded mode. What we usually do is we call that a dupe sheet. I don't know if you guys know what a dupe sheet is. And I don't know what you guys are going to be doing for logging, but normally what we consider a dupe sheet is a list of calls worked sorted by band and mode. So you're going to just basically, a lot of people will do this on, actually send, I don't know if you guys are going to be doing this on a computer or on handwritten. We also have handwritten dupe sheets, which are huge. I mean, they're like 11 by 17, they're ginormous. But it's basically, when you're doing, you fill it out, you're right, okay, 80 meters, I worked, AA6, blah, 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 A7 this, and you just list all the calls you worked. Just to give you an idea of like, oh, hey, I worked that guy in 80 meter CW already. And the logging software generally will check dupes for you. And that's why we say in lieu of a dupe sheet, you could take the Cabrillo file. Don't check the logs. Logs aren't checked at all. We just use the dupe sheets, and we just use them just as a say, hey, did this guy take any effort at all to see if they didn't work the same station twice on the same band and mode. So
hey, Paul.
Yeah.
So I'm a little confused on that last one there. I'm okay on the Cabrillo versus the dupe sheet and so on, but now where we're going to have within our group, we're going to have let's just say 20 stations working independently. All 20 of them are going to file their own.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Every entrant is going to file their own entry under their own call sign, and we're not since they're operating under their own unique call signs. We're not going to; those wouldn't be considered a dupe, because a dupe would be the same station working in the same station more than once on the same band and mode. Now, normally when you're doing it as a Class A, you're doing it under one call sign.
Yeah.
So that's a question that comes up a lot. And actually, we can go. I think we probably. Do you have any questions on the form before I move off this? Because I want to get to the fact. Because that answers a lot of the questions.
Go ahead then.
So the form, for the most part, Bruce has really set this up. We kind of worked a lot on this last year. He and us set this up to be pretty self-explanatory, and then all you need to do here at the end is, and since we're not going to be doing the GOTA bonus because because GOTA stations are only Class A, I believe, and F. So you're going to at the end just fill out your name, which for some reason mine comes up. Anyway, so your name, your call, and your email address, and submit entry right now is grayed out because it's before field day. We can only submit it once field day starts. So the form is pretty self-explanatory, and I'm sure I'll get a lot of questions on that because I always do. After but again, if you have any questions, that's why we're there. Will issue another frequently asked questions list as field day is wrapping up for everyone to ask. Well, okay, we did this. How do I submit my entry?
Paul,
Yeah.
I had a suggestion on the facts. What's happening now is we're ending up with multiple facts out there. So I was thinking you might want to make a composite fact.
Yep.
I mean, maybe make the fact and then say this is 2020 information on this part of the fact and this is the full fact, because I keep having people take the.
There is a general fact on the field day rules. The one that we just did here was, this is specifically for this year.
Yeah.
Because of the waivers. So these are all questions here that have to do with this year's field day. I was hoping to make this bigger, but anyway. So this is a good resource for most of the again, the questions I've been getting asked a lot were like, here, we'll start with this one. Some of our club members are going to operate independently, wish to attribute their scores to the aggregate club score. What call sign do they use? Again, participants use their own call signs. And then I cited the reasons why, because there is that 1,000-foot rule. Single call sign can only operate transmitters within 1,000 feet diameter circle. And then we keep getting, well, can't we work a modified, we get this one a lot too, a club call or a modified club call. And they use W1AW as an example here. We're not allowing that. So everybody enters under their own call sign. And then how does my club submit an aggregate score? Does my club need to add up each member's scores and submit a club entry of the aggregate score under the club call sign? And the answer to that last question is no. But each participant submits their own independent entry under your own call sign. And then so you don't add it up. You just put it into about a web applet, and that link brings you to where we just were. And here, I'm really kind of pressing that you guys try to enter your official club name. And it needs to be the same or relatively close. Like if some people put in ASSOC and some people put in, like, I don't know whether it's association or not, but I'm just using that as a common one. We see like, such and such amateur radio club. Some people put in, South Shore ARC. Well, if I see a whole bunch of them as South Shore Amateur Radio Club and some saying South Shore ARC, and they're all in the same section, I can kind of assume where they are. The reason why, again, this is a manual process for putting this together. The reason why I'm trying to ask you guys to put in the official name is why we're going to have the drop-down list, is that it will help me more easily identify which club you're intending on putting your entry in. Because there might be South Shore Amateur Radio Club, South Shore Amateur Radio Association, and you put in South Shore, I'm not going to know. So that's why we're trying to work on. I suggest you guys come up with if it is amateur radio club or amateur radio association, put it in spelling the same and making sure you're consistent. I mean, consistency is kind of the key there. Because again, this is a manual process. And last year I got 3,100 entries, and I'm expecting a lot more this year. So with all the Class Ds, So there's going to be a lot of work. So we're trying to make sure we get this as good as the information from the start as good as we can. It's going to make our compiling the results a lot easier. And you guys mentioned you might still be doing a club entry, or maybe not. Okay, our group is planning to operate at the usual field day site, but some members do not feel comfortable gathering in a large group. Can we still submit an entry using the club call sign, as well as have members operating from home use your own call sign? And the answer to that is yes. So if you guys decide to do, if you have 6 or 7 people that says, you know what, we're going to put together a Class A, and we feel comfortable doing that, and if you like, we can do that and being socially distant, if that's still in effect at the time, go ahead and do that. Again, you're going to put your club name in there, and you're going to see your Class A entry published in the results as it normally is. All of the members who affiliated their scores with you, and the aggregate score will be listed separately, and then there's going to be a separate aggregate club score listed. So I think that's kind of down here.
So Paul, just before you get too further, did I understand that on Bruce's form there, when we go to the name, you used last year's list, and therefore, however we were listed last year, should pull down? Is that correct?
Yeah. Well, so it's going to be. I'm going to try to go by the names of the clubs that were in there from last year.
Yeah.
And what normally happens when we go to publish, there's space limitations in QST. Obviously, when we're publishing it, so a lot of times you'll see. Like, I'm suggesting that groups don't use acronyms like, your Middlesex Amateur, like the club near me is Middlesex Amateur Radio Society. What I don't want them to do is put MARS, because who knows if, there's another acronym, or CARS, CARS is a very common one. I can't tell you how many groups are, Cuyahoga Amateur Radio Society, Chippewa Amateur Radio, there's a gazillion of them. And if everyone just went and put cars in there, the only way to be able to tell the difference is, it's like, okay, I have all these entries that say cars, and they're in, San Bernardino section, and there's a whole bunch of them that are in Tennessee. I can kind of assume by the section the person says that they're operating from, which club they want to affiliate with, because typically you guys are going to be in Ohio, or maybe some of your members are in Western Pennsylvania. So it's important to remember that when you are, it's where you are physically located, which derives a section you're going to transmit in your exchange, and also how you're going to declare your entry.
Could I interest you in typing a few letters in there on their club or group name?
Yeah, and here it's not going to do it because it's not.
Oh, okay.
It's not live yet.
It's not live yet. I can kind of give you a.
Well, if I look at last year's results that were published in QST and go
yeah,
by how
I don't even think that list is in there yet. Bruce and I were working on that today. But what I can show you is I can kind of show you what it's going to sort of look like. If you give me just a second here.
Yeah.
May I make a suggestion?
Sure.
How about if we just have a list of instructions for our members saying, when you enter this field, use this?
Well, yeah, and I'm suggesting that maybe the club can come out and like, listen, when we go to enter our entries, here's what we're going to use. We're going to try to make it easy for you, though. So there it is. All right, so this is just a test page that Bruce put together for me. So if I started to type a name of a club in here, of course,
M-A-H.
Of course, it's not working now. I don't know why, because it's going to make me feel like a fool. It was working the other day. No, apparently Bruce has that disabled now because he wants to make me. I was just using it this morning.
Dave broke it.
So anyway, so that was just this was just something he was doing. It's like, here, I developed this. Let's see if this works. And of course, now it's not going to work for me.
Nancy,
it was working beautifully, and I was like, but it was so. I'm sure it's because he's probably doing some. He's doing some work on it because he and I were working on it today. So what he just gave me is he gave me a master list of his database from last year of every single club that was put in there. And some of them people put in, like, we have to go through and weed through these entries a lot. A lot of people put in things like, for their club name, 1A, 6A. So I had a lot of people putting in the class and the club name, and the club name field. And then we had to go back and figure out, I was like, okay, what do they mean here? So there's a lot of when compiling the results, there's a lot of guessing. So that's why that's why the club name's kind of important. But yes, I would suggest that maybe the club come up with this is how we're going to submit our entries and be consistent.
Nancy, I gave Scott a link to the copy of the sample letter I created. I've been putting together a letter the clubs can change out all the information they need to so that it has specifics. And at the very end, it talks specifically about this is exactly the way we want you to type our club's name in.
Sure.
Awesome.
I can show you that real quick if you want to see it.
Yeah. So I mean, the rest of this here, I mean, a lot of these are very common questions, and I'll just kind of go over these really quick. But again, this is right on the web page. So if you ever have a question about this, so again, if your club is still hosting a field day effort, you can submit an entry as usually using the club call. Call members operating at home submit separate entries with their own call signs, and everybody enters their name on the club, and then the scores will get. Can a club member operate from home using the club call sign? Yes, you can. If one of you, and whoever the trustee is, decides to say, hey, we're going to let member X operate from home using the club call sign, you absolutely can do that. But again, the call sign can only be used in one location, so it's not portable. It's not like it can be used part of the day at member A's house and then moved across town, because again, that goes against that 1,000-foot rule again.
Okay.
All right. So then I'm just gonna go through these quick, and then I'm sure Anthony he's got a lot of stuff in his page too. Our club normally enters field day as Class A. We operate from home. What class should our individual members enter in order to be included? So a lot of people were under the assumption that, oh, we all have to be the same class. No, it's not. It's not going to go. It's not going to go into we're not going to combine the scores into one entry. There's just going to be a list of club names and the total score of all the members who attributed their score, and if there was a club, station under the club call sign, that just going to get added together. So it's really just kind of again, this isn't a contest. It's more of just a fun operating event. So it's honestly, it's the points are more just for fun. Maybe to see how well you did last year or this year over last year. So anyway, each member will operate independently and submit whatever class that applies to their operation. So typically you'd be a Class D or E. Our club will have 10 members operating from a Class D station. Should they worry about working the same station more than once on the same band? We talked about duplicates already. Those aren't really considered duplicates because they're different call signs working them. Does your club need to be ARL affiliated club? We talked about that at the top of the meeting. No. Again, it could be Bill and Ted's Excellent Field Day Adventure, if you want to call it that. I like using that one. Bill and Ted's Excellent Field Day Adventure. That was something that me and Dan Henderson had come up with in the office one day. We were joking about. It's like, well, Dan's like, I don't care, and he's from North Carolina, so he's kind of laid back. He's like, I don't care what they enter. They could be Bill and Ted's Excellent Field Day Adventure for all I care. So again, as long as, and for the most part, we don't edit club names from the small groups. It's usually a Class B, 1 or 2 members, unless they try to do something that might be misconstrued as being dirty. We'll leave it at that. So we try not to edit those, but sometimes people try to get in acronyms that spell things that we don't really want to have in QST. Anyway, so all clubs and groups are welcome to participate. How will bonus points be calculated? Okay, bonus points. We didn't really talk about that before, but there are bonus points that are still available to Class D and E entrants. And whatever bonus points you can qualify for, if you want to try to get them, go for it. We're not going to, normally there's only, you can get certain bonus points once or X number of them per entry. We're not going to limit it by club, so it's going to be by individual, and all the scores just get added together at the end. So that's pretty much what we had from the FAQ. Is there any other questions regarding this year's field day? All right, so I think I pretty much covered what I had to say. Unless there's any other regular field day questions you guys had that don't have to deal with this year's rule waivers. So if you were looking at the field
Just
day
speaking
website,
for myself, Paul, you've answered quite a few questions that I had going into this. I think this smooths the way quite nicely.
so if you go over to the rules and resources section of the field day website, there's a whole bunch of stuff here. And rules, entry forms, and information packets are, this is the FAQ that I believe, Anthony, you were talking about, correct?
Yes, there's two facts, so just be aware of that.
So yeah, so there's the FAQ and the rules here. This is a pretty much a standard FAQ for every, if you look at when this was updated, it was revised in April. So that was, so it's basically general field day questions, but it's also a good thing to talk about. Like, can I operate FT8 or FT4 in field day? And yes, you can. Any digital mode, as long as it accommodates the field day exchange, is acceptable. Anyway, that was just the question I picked out. So, I mean, these are all on the website. So it's the website's got quite a bit on here. So that's under the rules, entry forms, information packets. The information packet's a good thing too. There's a lot of this stuff here is in the packet, but there's some stuff in the packet that's not. And this is like a big, huge PDF file, basically. It's got the full text of the rules, and then just all sorts of other stuff in here. Stuff that, it's multiple pages, but it gives you quite a bit of information. And let me just show you really quick, because we talked about the dupe sheet. It keeps bringing me back here too. I wish it would go back to this with it open, but it keeps having me. So a dupe sheet kind of looks like this. Will it display is the question I have. All right. So you see there's numbers across, or letters, all right? So say you worked N1AKB. You write his call here, because that's under the 1A. If you worked, somebody with the number 2 and it has an A in the call sign at, the first letter of the suffix usually, that allows you to keep track of who you worked on, where. I mean, it's confusing. The easiest way to do it is just to write a list of call signs you worked in each band, and just make, if you don't do a lot of them, if you're only doing a few entries, or, you're making only a few contacts, you could probably write, 80 meters and just start writing call signs down. And then you'll hear, oh, hey, I worked N1SFE before. He's like, I worked him before. You go, oh yeah, there he is. This is just the easier way to keep. That's what a dupe sheet looks like. It looks really intimidating, but really it's just basically the number and the first letter of the suffix of the call sign. That's pretty much what those mean. So that's what a dupe sheet is. But again, if you guys are you guys using any software for a field day? Using like the N3FJP logger or
yeah, that's typically what we do use.
What is the one that they ask here? Because it looks like FD log is a free one too, I believe. And I didn't. And this is a new one we just added. One of our directors had.
Yeah, it's the Mac program.
Snookum. I should try that. The computer I'm actually running on right now is a Mac. I should try running that on. Anyway, I'm gonna are there any questions?
Not with me.
All right, so I'm going to you're gonna see my lovely face. There we go. Or Scott, or are we seeing Scott? Who are we seeing right now?
We're seeing everybody.
There we go. So
well, we're not seeing the Rottweiler right now, so we're good.
Yeah. So Anthony, did you have anything to add at this point?
Yeah, let me show. I'm going to grab the screen for a second here and show you a couple of quick slides. The first one is I provided this to Scott, and this is a letter that I put together. It's a sample letter I created for the Cuyahoga Falls group, but anyone can use it by changing out all the yellow parts. But it basically says, this is the situation with field day with our club this year. Fill in your information to match. This is incentives our club is going to do with our members. You can change that to yours. And then this is some ideas on what you need to do to get ready for field day, if you need software, if you need hardware, etc. Then a little bit about the bonus points, the information about the waivers. And then it basically says, these are the 5 things we'd like every member to do. We want you to find your call or class, know your exchange, prepare your station ahead of time. And I go into details on each of these with some resources. So this letter is available to your club to use if you'd like. And then down at the bottom here, it basically says, submit your ARRL score using the online form. Make sure you use this exact name in the submission form. So that's where you would provide that information.
And again, it doesn't have to be an official, again, you don't have to be an official ARRL club.
Yes.
So you can, if you're not, so it doesn't necessarily have to be even as recognized by ARRL, but the biggest part there is be consistent.
Yes. So that letter's available to you. The second thing I put together is, I'm not sure how many technicians you have who are going to be operating solo, but that's one of the biggest concerns. A lot of the technicians typically operate at your 5A site under the control operator. So I put together about 10 slides talking about some alternatives for technician class licensees to be active during field day. Basically, it breaks down into 4 things: VHF station, satellite contacts, 10-meter single sideband, and CW operations on the novice portions of the HF bands. And I go through a little bit of detail about each of these, including not only can they work single sideband on 6 meters, but they can also do FT8 and FT4 there, which will probably be pretty popular this year. Section about using 2-meter FM, which is not traditionally used at field day, but you guys already do a contest with 2-meter FM. So I'd suggest you tell your technicians to be on there with 2-meter FM and at least make contacts with each other during field day. As long as they don't make them through the repeater, those count. So that's another way for the technicians to get active. And this whole slide presentation, by the way, is all available at this link. Right here, this tiny.cc/FDSD. So VHF, 6 meters and 2 meters. A little bit about satellites, which is probably not going to be suitable unless they're already operating satellites. 10-meter single sideband and Digi. Also, again, FT8's applicable there too if they have a poor antenna, if they just have something really simple. And then a little bit more about operating CW with limited CW skills. I have a whole thing, this tiny.cc/FWM, Fun with Morris. And it basically goes through and talks about using decoders in radios, external decoders, software decoders, etc., for people who might have limited CW ability, just to get them on the air. If that's the only way they're going to get on, I really strongly suggest they think about some of these things. So I have links on information on that. But I think that's one of the big areas is going to be to encourage our people with technician class licenses to get on at least using one of these 4 different alternatives. If nothing else, at least make some 2-meter simplex contacts so that they can feel part of the whole process.
Well, Anthony, I'm glad you brought that up because that's something we've been kicking around, is whether we were going to just like hold a kind of informal net during the day for folks to check in and say how they were doing. But maybe we need to encourage this 2-meter simplex contacts.
Yes.
Well, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Well,
go right ahead.
Having a net at various times during the day just to kind of keep the club cohesiveness together. If you guys have a repeater and you want to get on there just to chat, that's absolutely fine. It's like just you can't count those contacts for field day points.
Right. Yeah. No, that we weren't figuring to do count their contacts, but we thought maybe some of the techs. We're trying to figure some way to get techs interested and involved.
One of the suggestions I had was that you might even want to say, hey, why doesn't everybody get on 2-meter FM simplex at the top of the hour or the bottom of the hour and certain hours?
Yes.
Schedule specific times in advance for all your members to say, hey, listen, we're going to get, because you really probably don't want to park on 146.52.
Yeah, right.
You're going to say, hey, let's go to 146.58 and meet us there. And that way, then you might be able to get somebody at their home station, or even if you have somebody who has a more powerful home station with a decent antenna, to work a few of the guys. And you know.
And this this letter I showed you earlier goes into the technician thing in detail also, pretty much everything I had without the images. So there's a whole section in here talking about technician class. I also have a link to resources for them, like the simplex frequency list. I have another one in here on the Morse code. I have another section in here on FT8, section on here on the sections.
Hey, I noticed you had a section there where you said that a lot of technicians don't realize they have HF privileges. And
yes.
Did you specifically call out 10 meters in a separate section? Because I noticed you didn't mention 10 meters there.
Yes, I did.
Okay, so that's why 10 wasn't there. Okay.
That's why 10 wasn't listed there, because I figured by that time I just didn't list 10 on that.
Okay, just checking. I wanted to make sure.
Yeah, I'm usually pretty thorough. This right here is a link that I put together for people who don't operate very often. This is a nice, every number tells you what section they're in.
Gotcha.
So if they're operating in their section, including all the RAC sections are in here.
Mm.
And then I also put together some phonetic alphabet, because I had a little bit of space, and some common Q symbols on here. And this is in this sample letter, and it's in the document both.
Yeah, and I knew this year's field day was going to be interesting, starting right at the top of the year when the RAC issued that new section.
Yes, there's a new section, PEI, this year. It's PE,
actually,
I should say.
The abbreviation is only PE.
Yes, PE. That's going to confuse everyone. It's going to be another Oregon, Orange County.
Because I actually, I got the email about that probably right around the first of the year, and I had emailed the guy at the RAC saying, hey, what is the official? Because Scott, N3FJP, emailed me, goes, what are we using for the section name? Because he goes, I emailed the guys, him and N1MM and those guys right away, said, listen, we got a new section coming. You need to update your software. So Scott had said, what are they doing? Is it a 3? And Bruce Warren said the same thing. Are we doing P? Because people are going to send, like, on the air, on phones, like, oh, yeah, you're 5'9", Prince Edward Island. You're going to write in your log PEI. I can guarantee you, you're going to put in PEI. So Bruce's log submitting software is like, well, do I recognize PEI, or do I just, or do I convert it? But the official designation, the guy at the RAC told me, is PE for Prince Edward, not PEI. Because if you think about it, aside from the weird ones like Maritime and Ontario North-South, Greater Toronto area, and those, they're all 2-letter acronyms. Or
yes.
Saskatchewan, Manitoba, New Brunswick, they're all 2-letter. So that's what they were going with.
So the other resources I have in here, I have a whole section on portable antennas and a variety of different information on those. If they need to put together the antenna. And I even have a section on improving your VHF signal for FM simplex, things like Tiger Tails, simple ground planes, simple beams that you can build. One other thing, as far as keeping your club together, you can activate in almost every logging program the ability to send your score to one or both of these online contest scoreboards. So your club members will be able to follow how everyone's doing in the contest by going to these contest scoreboards. In N1MM, you just check one little box in there, and I think it's pretty much the same in N3FJP, that says you want your score to go up, be pushed up automatically to the online contest scoreboards. And this way, you can see what the rest of your club members are doing. And I can't remember which one. I think it's actually the other one I didn't click on, the contest online scoreboard, has a club sorter, so you can sort it by club. So if your club members list their club when they set up their log, it'll automatically sort that way also if you want to sort it. So that's another thing to bring people in. Some of the other ideas I've heard since I've been presenting to people is, one club was trying to figure out what they were going to do as far as people who don't like to operate. They're just interested in the technical aspect of things. So what they've done is they actually have them set up as support people. They're going to be available on the repeater, and also they're publishing their phone number for the club members. So if someone has a question or problem, they can call them either on the repeater or directly to get assistance. So that'll give them something to do because they don't want to operate at all. The Cuyahoga Falls Club is doing a setup net on Friday night when they would normally be doing their field day setup, and Saturday morning they're going to be on the repeater with a help sessions available via the repeater. So a couple ideas for, again, that you might get some of your technicians involved in that aspect. We're also asking everyone in the club to take a 1 to 2 minute video of their operation, and we're going to make a montage that we can share with the rest of the club members. So that might be something that might be fun to do at the Christmas party, play that video or something like that. So a number of things, and again, as I said, this is all available. There's only 130 some slides in it now at this link.
I think that's the one that you put into your email when you replied.
Yes.
You could be here. Okay, so I did send that out to folks, but as I don't know if Nancy mentioned earlier, we've been having some problems with our internet provider here, and I don't know if everybody got it yet.
And if you'd rather watch it than read it, I recorded it for the IARU. It's on their YouTube channel.
Okay.
Region 2 YouTube channel. I did it last Wednesday.
Okay.
You can skip the first 8 minutes if you already know about what the IARU is and jump ahead to where I start talking. So that's available. And I also did the one on FT8 and FT4 yesterday. I also put together a thing on FT8 and FT4 that's a quick start guide. Let's see if I can remember what it is, what the shortcut is. I got so many shortcuts now. Let's see, FT.
Yeah, and you need to get some more stuff into the quick start bar too.
Yeah. Okay, so this is, I didn't do that one right. We get that other extra letter out of there. Oh, let's put the letters in the right order helps.
Watch out for that toenail fungus.
Yes. So this, I put this together for people who haven't operated it for a long time. It's just a little guide to have next to your radio. This shows how the screen looks on FT8 and FT4. Tells you how to change bands, how to change frequencies, how to change modes, how to set up your transmit frequency. And then down here, I have the settings that you need to adjust for field day. And I just got an email today back and forth from a person that was trying to do this. And he says, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. And I zoomed in to see what he did. And he had put PA as the section. That's why it wasn't working. He needed to put WPA. So once I got him on the right section, then he was okay. It'll give you an error if you don't put a valid section in there.
There's those couple states that have more than one.
Well, Paul, my wife and I travel around as a Class B for our vacation each year, and she knows my requirement is we don't go to any of those states that have those multiple sections in them. We'd boycott those.
So I guess you don't go to Florida, huh?
Well, no, we don't. We didn't go. We try to go somewhere for field day where there's not many people. We've done West Virginia, Montana, Maine, Vermont, Delaware are our usual haunts. We've done Delaware twice, West Virginia 3 times, and we were hoping to go back to Maine this year, but that didn't work out.
So my start in contesting is I was licensed as a tech in 1994, a no-code tech, and I did a lot of VHF contesting. And so when COVID struck, I was bored. I took all my paper logs and put them into Logbook of the World. I get a 2-meter contact confirmed from Connecticut to West Virginia on 2 meters.
That's good.
I thought that was, and I was only running 30 watts on a 3-element beam, like on the roof of my car. I was like holding it off the top of my car.
Oh,
But,
Paul, have you gotten the questions so far? I love when I do this presentation of let's pull all 5 of our cars into the 1,000-foot circle and be 5C. And I had to explain to them, no, you're not 5C because you're not the same vehicle.
That was interesting because that was a conversation when that came up as a question on the field day site, and they mentioned your video or your slideshow.
Well, that one guy wanted to argue with me about it, and I said, why would you do that? I said, why don't you just pull all the vehicles in there and become a class? Actually, I don't know. I'll show the slide.
Anyway, so that actually there was a little discussion at ARL too between me and Dan Henderson, because I'm like, well, could it possibly be? It's like, no, it's one vehicle.
Yes, because you can't all move at the same time.
Yeah.
So the guy showed me he went in, found some old QSTs and did some screenshots, and he sent it to me. He said, look, this person was 3C. I said, did you realize they were on a boat? That was a maritime mobile operation. Then he sent me another one. It was in a van. It was a 2C. I said, you can have as many as you want as long as you get a big enough vehicle.
Well, yeah, and again, it's also the number of maximum transmitters on the air at any given time. So if you get a whole bunch of people loaded up in a VW microbus, and you got, 4 radios, one guy's on 6 meters, one guy's on 2 meters, and one guy's on HF, you're a 3C.
But not very good for the social distancing aspect.
No.
So this is the screenshots I was showing. This is the 5C that he wanted to do. And this is my suggestion instead. Pull your vehicle up and use a decent antenna, and you'll be much more rewarded with
And I love how you're using the VW microbus, too.
Well, I actually had one. I didn't have a microbus, but for many, many years, my field day station was, let me get to it. It's, boy, come on. This Volkswagen van was used numerous times by our club as one of the operating positions, and I blew the engine on it, but I kept the vehicle for 3 years, and we towed it down to the field day site and operated with it. And one year, we used to tow it with a chain because we were only about a quarter mile from the field day site from my house. And
Is that a Vanagon?
Yeah, that's a Vanagon. That's an 82, I think.
So Paul, W1VLF, who works in the lab,
yes,
he had a Vanagon, and he actually had a HF antenna that was all around the roof.
Oh yeah, I've seen those before. They're nice. So one year the person towing me doesn't realize that he has to keep moving, and he slows down, and I actually pass him. I'm waving to him to speed up because I'm alongside of him. I almost ran into the back end of him. But so that was one of our adventures.
That's funny.
So when I was in Florida at the Hamcation, I saw the new logo for this year. I was very excited, and I would have worn my shirt tonight, but I've been wearing it so many nights I had to put it in the laundry.
Yeah, I don't have mine yet.
I've had mine since February. I think that's why this all happened. I got mine too early this year.
I've been trying to bug them. I actually ended up having to order one, and I still haven't got it yet.
The material is very, very subpar this year. They went with a really thin cotton.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Yes.
I don't know if you noticed I have my W1AW shirt on.
I love the design, though.
Okay,
Yeah,
who's got last minute questions for the folks so we won't keep them up all night here? Mark, I'm sorry? Mark, did you notice that Anthony had that slide of all the section numbers and that, you're not in the right section?
Now, which Mark are you talking to, Dave?
You know which one.
I'm in Ohio and proud to be here.
Okay, so last minute stuff. Anybody?
I have a question for you, Dave.
Uh-oh. Let me mute my mic then.
Were you ever a broadcaster? Because you got that radio voice.
No, I was never a broadcaster, and I was just fortunate accident of birth,
When you were doing the introduction, I was like, wow. I mean, introduction was like, well, Paul is the contest program manager here at the ARL.
He does love to talk.
Yeah.
Amen, amen. Found the right hobby, Dave.
Okay, well, hey, this has been terrific. I appreciate both of you stopping in tonight. Paul, very glad we were able to meet you. And Anthony, we've met before, but glad to see you again. And really appreciate that. This has been a great help. It's going to help us. I couldn't make notes fast enough on things that we need to, Scott and I need to get together with a couple folks like Mark and see if we can implement some of this stuff.
And Dave and Scott, you both have my phone number, so if you want to get a hold of me, feel free. I'll be happy to answer any questions too.
Okay, we will, Anthony. Thank you.
Hopefully, I'll see you guys at Hamvention next year. Maybe I'll be able to make it.
Yeah, that would be
hopefully
great.
We will
that
too.
Would be nice.
And I hate to
guys.
I hate to ask this question because it's your club and not mine, but if you wouldn't mind, can I talk to Paul for just a minute when we're all done?
Yeah,
for
sure,
$1.
no problem.
Okay, I'll send you $1, Scott. I'll make it 2.
Okay.
Okay, Scott, it's back in your lap.
We'll donate it back to Mark for his razors.
Yes.
So now we're up to $4. All right, I just want to thank Paul and Anthony and thank everybody for showing up tonight.
You're welcome, guys.
Thank you.
We'll probably do another Zoom meeting before field day just to square everything up. But Dave and I have to get together and probably with a couple other folks and talk about some things before we get to field day. So,
Hey, Scott,
yeah,
This is
I
Mike.
see you. Hey, Mike.
I told Dave during our net that I think probably a good idea to have a meeting down at the train yard for anybody interested. So you get a look around and actually see what's what and what's where and what maybe we could do to, don't forget, cabooses on tracks, they can move. So we get, just kind of eyeball thing firsthand.
Yeah, I was going to get with you when I get back. I need to look at your laptop anyhow. And I figured that day you and I could just meet there and exchange laptop, and I'll take a look around. And then we can, like you said, we can get the other guys that want to meet down there for field day and take a look around. So that's a good idea, Mike. Thanks.
Okay, you're welcome.
Okay. All right, guys. I will see you when I get back. I'll be back Tuesday.
Okay. Hey, Scott,
So-
just make a note. I think we should, this 2-meter contacts, like on the top of the hour or whatever we decide to do. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, we talked about that. And
All right,
since we're going to be doing the home field day, we're going to need to talk about those awards again. So,
Yep.
So we'll be doing that. So, all right.
Very
Thank
good.
you, guys. Let's leave it to Paul and Anthony, and then I'll be home Tuesday, and we'll see you next week.
Okay.
Everybody.
Thanks, Paul. Thanks, Anthony.
Well,
Sure.
you're welcome. Nice
Thank
seeing
you.
Bye.
See you later, guys.
Yep, see ya.
Thanks,
Good
guys.
night.
Good night.
All right.
Yeah, Paul, I just wanted to ask you real quick if you see or talk to Chris Bickle at all.
Well, I haven't been in the office since March 23rd.
Yeah, well, I figured
so
that was the case. But I mean, when things are normal.
We're in different parts of the building, even though it's a small building. I very rarely do see but I do run into that, people all the time. So.
The reason why I was asking is I'm doing the content for the contesting class he's putting together.
Okay.
So I didn't know if you wanted to maybe take a look at things as we were putting them together, if you had any input into that.
Well, it might be something that would definitely want to come by my desk for accuracy purposes and stuff.
Yeah, I can't do it because I can't share anything because of the non-disclosure. So
Gotcha.
I thought maybe you might be able to approach him to just say, do you mind if you take a look at it? And then I think it'd be okay to go that route.
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah, I can shoot Chris an email.
Yeah, I just think it'd be, we're sort of doing these in isolation. I think it'd be sort of nice to make sure that you guys were sort of, that I didn't say anything that doesn't jive with the official.
Yeah, and the thing is too, we want to make sure it's consistent, and that the worst thing we want to do is have something else. It's got an error in it. Is like when I write those things for even the FAQ and all that stuff, it goes through so many edits and so many proofreads and.
The one thing I've been getting, the question I've been getting is about the Class B on their own property. So what I've been telling people when they have questions about that, my suggestion is pack everything up in the car and don't use anything that you don't pack in the car, and don't go back to don't use the house for anything else. So if you're limited, I said it isn't so much the fact of what property you're on, it's the fact that you shouldn't be using a home station as a B station.
Yeah. And
so
I think a lot of it too with the Class B is the intent. I mean, even if you're on your own property, if you're out in the and you're really setting up a portable station. You're not just, 2 feet from your kitchen spider glass door and throw an antenna out on the deck and drag your radio out there and throw it on the car battery.
Yeah.
To me, that's kind of doing it just to say you did it.
Yeah, I've been telling them that basically sort of like an ARC situation. If you put everything in the ARC and that's all you plan on using for field day, that you should be able to drive 100 miles or 200 miles with whatever you're doing. It shouldn't just be that you throw it out the back door and
right.
go.
And like at my house or my apartment, there's a little park across the street. Like,
yeah.
well, take it across the street. There you go.
Exactly.
Anyway.
Yep. Well, thank you very much, and
Yeah,
it was great seeing you tonight.
Could you shoot me an email to remind at my ARL.org address to remind me about contacting Chris? Because I lost that.
So, is it your call? What's your address for? What address you want me to use?
It's my call sign N1SFE at ARRL.org.
Okay, I think I have it.
Yeah,
I have it in my.
One. You can use the Hotmail one too, but the ARL org is my work address. I try to keep them separate.
Yeah, I have it in my. I have it in my contact list here.
Is that a Kenwood 590 I see behind you?
It's 590 on one side with the green screen. The other one's a Elecraft K3S.
Yeah, I thought that was Elecraft. Yeah, I got a 590 as well. I love that radio.
I ended up picking up the 590 not too long ago when we were teaching a general class. I had someone ask